For the last 8 years, there has been one car that has sold better than everything else. And now there's a new version of it.
That car is of course the Ford Fiesta, which has been given a noticeable overhaul to keep it competitive. Is it good enough to stay at the top for another 8 years though? Let's start with some numbers. The 7th generation Fiesta is 71mm longer and 30mm wider than its predecessor. Torsional stiffness has been improved by 15%, while the front track has increased by 30mm, the rear track by 10mm, and the wheelbase by 4mm. It also has a new look. It's still recognisable as a Fiesta, but the design is cleaner and tidier, a move that has proven divisive if interweb comments are anything to go by. What I will say is that it looks better in the flesh, even with that rather C-Max inspired rear end. As for the engines, the 1 litre EcoBoost can be had in a variety of power outputs, and there is a new 1.5 litre TDCi diesel that is actually rather excellent. But it's not my favourite.
I have to say my pick of the bunch is the Fiesta ST line, and that's because the ST hasn't been launched yet, neither has the active crossover. So for now, the 140 PS engine is as fast as it gets, and it's a proper hoot. It's the same as it was before, but it's still fun, it's still exciting. It's a quick little engine that builds up speed surprisingly fast.
In fact, it feels faster than its 9-second 0 to 62 suggests, and it will hammer onto a top speed of 125 mph, which is plenty for a country with roads that barely go above 30.
Now the old Fiesta was known for being the most fun to drive, and this thing is the same again. I really like the Micro, I like the new Rio, and lots of various other small cars that have come out this year, but this thing is just so much more involving, more thrilling. Just hammer along, and it's so easy to control the steering. It's a bit odd at first, there's a bit of weird weighting. It's kind of twitchy, but then actually takes a lot of movement before you get any real steering, but you soon get used to it, and it's just so controllable. Honestly, the level of grip is brilliant. As for the suspension, well, Ford has made a few minor changes in that department, and it's made the Fiesta just a little bit softer. It's still a honed car, it's still able to be chucked into corners, and it doesn't roll too much. But it's just that little bit more compliant, and on UK roads that's a really, really good thing.
The ST line is 10mm lower and firmer, giving it a more purposeful edge, and the seat adjustment lets you really hunker down if you want to. But if it's comfort you crave, the Vignale Titanium and all other models are the way to go.
Another plus is the 6-speed manual, which Ford has apparently made a little bit smoother, but then that wasn't a complaint of the old Fiesta. I always found the manual in that was perfectly fine. So this one, whether it's different or not would be very hard to say, but it's certainly a joy to use. It's not too long a throw between gears, not too notchy, you can kind of hear a little bit of it, but it's not enough to ruin the experience. Come on, little Fiesta. Oh, it doesn't hang around, this thing.
So the new Fiesta handles better than before and is even more fun to drive. But what about refinement?
Now it is quite windy here in Spain, so it's going to be noisier than usual. But it does seem like that's one of the areas where the new Fiesta does fall down just a tiny bit. However, the overall kind of refinement and the lack of engine noise if you change down is excellent. It really is a very quiet, comfortable little car. Now this being the ST line means you're probably going to want to be a bit of an idiot in this car sometimes. And the good news is that it's very easily done. Now although it's a 3-cylinder, there is enough pep in this car to make overtaking manoeuvres, such as when you're stuck behind a bloody tractor. And you get a nice throaty engine noise. You do forget that it is a very small displacement really. Before you know it, you're up to top of the legal limit.
If the ST line is too powerful, you can have the same 1 litre EcoBoost with either 100 or 125 PS. Or there's a 1.1 litre with 70 or 85 PS. But going this route means you have to have a 5-speed manual. Alternatively, as I mentioned earlier, you can have 120 PS 1.5 litre TDCi, which offers CO2 of just 89 grams per kilometre.
Now, I'll be honest, I really like the new Nissan Micra. I thought it looked cool, had a lot more street cred, if that's still a thing. It was just prettier, more aggressive, had lots of tech in it that was actually quite useful. So it was good. This also has lots of tech in it and is a slightly better drive, but it was already quite a cool car, so they didn't need to do too much there.
Even so, the addition of the optional 10-speaker B&O sound system, complete with an amp and subwoofer, gives you a touch of luxury missing from the old car, even if the sound quality can be a little bit shrill.
Now, the new Fiesta is not without a few of its own quirks, and one of them is this button here, which brings up the trip computer and a few other menus in the central display here. It's quite easy to knock it when you put your hand on the wheel, and this is the most comfortable place to hold it, so you find yourself doing it quite a lot.
In fact, the interior is one of the most improved areas. In the old car, it felt as if Ford had just loaded hundreds of plastic buttons into a shotgun cartridge and fired them towards the dash. And here there are far fewer buttons and the overall look is more sophisticated.
I'm also really not a fan of some of the plastics in here. They're kind of soft to touch, but they don't look great. They do look a little bit cheap. With that said, this car is nicer than the Focus RS, and this is a car that starts at $12,715, which is considerably cheaper than the 30 grand plus Focus RS. So you can't be too harsh on it then, especially with the new floating 8-inch display here, which is the most expensive, but it is quite nice. And Sync 3 is an improvement on Sync 2, let's just say that.
Sync 3 is a little ugly in places, admittedly, and the 90s colour gradient background does little to help that. But the fact you can pinch to zoom and swipe like you would on a smartphone makes it easier to use, especially as the options are laid out more sensibly.
There's also an issue with headroom if you get the panoramic roof. Now, it's lovely for letting light in, makes the car a little bit fancier, but if you're in the back and you're in the 6-foot club, you're gonna find it irritating.
On the flip side, making the new Fiesta bigger has created an extra 16mm of legroom, while the boot is an extra 2 litres bigger, at a total of 292. Smaller than the Micra's 300 litres, but still good, and the 60/40 split folding rear seats help with versatility.
If I was nitpicking, you could also say that the collision system is quite sensitive, as in fairly large gap, and it will flash up red, warning you that you're about to mate with the car in front.
You could easily argue the posh Vignale model is too expensive for a Super Mini at over £20,000, but then a basic titanium has more than enough bang for your buck, while the pricier ST line will keep the boy racer contingent happy, especially as it has more aggressive looks.
I had this really big fear that the Fiesta would just somehow stumble and that other cars would start to eclipse it, and I'll be honest, the gap between its competitors is narrower. I think the Micra in particular is a solid car, and value for money, it's very close. But small cars are meant to be fun, and this car is still the most fun in its class. I've not driven anything that has made me want to drive like an idiot quite as much, and that is why this is still my favourite. Until the ST200 anyway.
I'd say the new Fiesta has been improved enough to make it good for another 8 years of car sales domination in the UK. So you should probably learn to like how it looks, because you're gonna see a lot of them around.